It's not often that you get members of Congress in unanimous agreement or on their feet clapping, but it happened this week for Congressman Pat Tiberi. Welcome to The Spectrum. I'm Colleen Marshall. The Republican from Ohio's 12th District is leaving office, and he shared some final thoughts with his fellow lawmakers on the Ways and Means Committee. They gave him a rousing round of applause. I had the chance to sit down and talk with the outgoing congressman about why he's leaving, what he's leaving behind, and what's next. One of the few times that members of Congress are all in agreement, a standing ovation. How did that make you feel? Because these are your colleagues that you've worked with for almost 2 decades.
Yeah, you know, beneath the rancor, some of us have some really good relationships with our colleagues on the other side of the aisle, and I have certainly had the opportunity to make those lasting relationships. And it's basically from what my parents taught me. You treat other people, regardless of how you feel on issues, like you'd want to be treated yourselves.
But you know that's not always what Washington is known for.
Correct.
And today more than ever before. As you get ready to wrap up your career, that part of your career, are you saddened by that?
Yeah, and we're a reflection of society, quite frankly. The civil discourse in America today is so much different than when it was at the beginning of my career. And we have to, and we've done it here in Central Ohio with Steve Stivers and Joyce Beatty. We have to continue to remind folks you can be in a position to be disagreeing with somebody without being so disagreeable. And we try to be civil about it, and civil discourse is so important. And I'm going to continue to do that in any job that I'm in from now until I'm no longer here.
And why don't you tell us a little bit about, as you look back on your career in Washington, what do you point at with the most pride?
I think it's really not even Washington. While Washington is so important because of what's done there and the laws for the country and the interaction with the rest of the world, the thing that a congressman does that is so important, we're the last call that someone makes when they're desperate, whether it's getting a passport, whether it's a Social Security check or a problem with one of the federal agencies, the IRS, Social Security Administration, Medicare. They are desperate when they call us, and I can't tell you how warming it is when somebody calls and says, thank you so much, I got this check, or I got into the VA because of you. Because otherwise we wouldn't have that happen. And that's the thing that a lot of folks don't realize about a member of Congress, the ability to cut through the bureaucracy and help people on an individual basis.
It's a one-to-one constituent work instead of policy work.
It is. Well, policy is really important. It gets 99% of the coverage by the media, and it's what we like to talk about, and I do too, because it's kind of global in nature, and it's, again, really important. The fact that somebody is calling and saying, if you can't help me, I'm not sure what I'm going to do. And we have people that do work on that, and I work on that every day. And it's why I ran originally, is to actually help people in the 12th District. You
know, you would have been secure in that district, a lot of people say, for a very long time. Not only is it a Republican-held district, but you're so well known. And you know, that was considered to be one of the most secure seats in the country. People were shocked when you announced that you were walking away from that. What kind of a role are you going to play in the person who holds this next seat, you know, who takes that seat away from you? Do you want to have a role in that?
Well, I'm trying not to put my thumb on it. I'm trying to let the process work itself out. And what's been really humbling is some of the folks that have looked at running have taken polls and have included my name in it, and I have really strong approval rating, which again is humbling to me, having grown up here, born here, lived my whole life here, tried to do things right, and you see now, wow, you know, there are people who recognize that, and that's heartwarming. But I'm trying not to. I think it's important to kind of let the voters, at least at this point in time, let this shake out with the people interested in running. But you know, I also know that this has been a tough year, and quite frankly, there are more important things than title of congressman.
I know that there are some tax issues, health care is still up in the air, things that aren't done. What do you regret that you didn't get to finish while you were there? Well,
health care, you know, it's a struggle. It's become so partisan that you can't even really try to fix it in a big bill. I think we're going to have to, and we've begun doing it in small bite size because the individual market is collapsing. I think we're going to get a tax bill. I really do. I think you'll see that, if not before the end of the year, early into next year. We haven't reformed our our tax code in 31 years, and the reason for that, it's hard. We have the highest corporate rate, very complicated system. So we need to simplify it. We need to be competitive around the world, but healthcare is one that I wish we could have fixed.
You know, I can't have you here as a Republican member of Congress and not ask you about Donald Trump. There were some big wins for Democrats in Virginia this week.
Yep.
A lot of people are saying that's the knee-jerk reaction to what's been going on at the White House. How would you assess the way he governs?
Well, I would do it differently. I would advise him to do it differently, but he's not going to listen to me. He was successful for a lot of reasons, and you know, one of them is his tweeting. I would tell him to stop tweeting because it's a huge distraction on his own agenda. He's got some really good people in cabinet positions, and he should let them do their job and quit getting all the focus on his tweeting, which sometimes I think he does on purpose.
What will be the impact, do you think, on the midterm elections next year for your party?
Well, historically, so put Donald Trump aside, Republicans tend to do really good in an off year if there's a Democrat president, and Democrats do really good if there's a Republican president. So historically speaking, it doesn't look good. I think if we get tax reform done, it'll be a little bit better.
What would you like to say to the people in Ohio who have put you in this position for all these years as you're getting ready to leave? You're taking on, you're going to be at the Ohio Business Roundtable, so you're still going to be here impacting policy. But what would you like to say to them about returning you to Washington year after year after year? Well,
again, it's been so humbling. It's been a lifetime experience for a kid who grew up in Columbus, the first in his family to go to high school as a Viking of Northland High School, and to pay my way through college. It really has been humbling, and I hope I gave more than I got in terms of helping people and in terms of representing people with distinction and integrity, quite frankly. And it's been an incredible journey.
Already, there are at least a dozen people who have expressed interest in taking over the seat held by Pat Tiberi.